Good evening, everyone. So my name is Brett Parker. I'm the Executive Director of the City Bar, and thanks so much to all of you for coming. I can't tell you how excited we've been for this moment, for this evening, and I'm so glad you're all here to share the evening with us. I want to thank, there's a lot of people here, but I want to thank, first of all, the speakers of the program. We have the Chief Judge of the State of New York and the New York Court of Appeals, Rowan Wilson, is here. The Presiding Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department, Diane Renwick, is here. New York Court of Appeals Associate Justice Shirley Troutman is here. Now, we know there's other judges here, and I'm not going to start listing them because that's a road I'm not prepared to go down, because I'm going to mess that up. And we also have other court staff. District Attorney from the Bronx is here. Well, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get in trouble with the other people. But I know how the Bronx rolls, and if I don't say it, it's... I want to express my sincere appreciation to the City Bar's Women in the Legal Profession Committee, chaired by Linda Rosenthal, who is here. And the Women on the Wall Subcommittee Chair, Janine Pollock, who's also here. This is great. I just say women's names and people applaud. Exactly. So I want to thank them not just for this event and the portrait, but the committee's efforts over the past several years for this initiative. Because of them, there are others. Because of them and others, we have portraits of Judith Kay downstairs in the K room. We have right behind you the portraits of Judge Deborah Batts on this side and Judge Sotomayor on the other side, all thanks to the efforts of this committee and others before them. I also want to thank Patty Horing, who's the artist for the portrait, and we're going to unveil that shortly, as well as the firm of Alston and Bird, Jams, and everyone else who supported tonight's event, including our co-sponsors, the Williams Commission, and the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin Committee on Women in the Courts. And I have to give a special thanks to the City Bar staff, who's amazing, the ones that are here and behind the scenes making this all possible. So thank you to the staff. Now, over the next hour or so, you're going to hear a lot of things about Judge Ellerin's amazing accomplishments over the years from her colleagues of the bench and the bar, even from the governor's office. But I want to share a secret with you. Before she was Judge Ellerin, she was part of the New York City Bar Association family. It's true, we almost blew it. The first women were not admitted to membership of the City Bar until October 1937, and even then there were only 12. Luckily for us, Judge Ellerin joined the City Bar 20 years later in 1957 after graduating from law school in 1953. Now, she has served on too many City Bar committees and chaired too many things and has been awarded and recognized too many times for me to list them all. Recipient of the Bow Team Medal, first chair of the Women in the Courts Committee, giving testimony before the New York State Legislature, serving on the Nominating Committee, the Executive Committee, the list goes on. And to this day, nearly 70 years later, she is still a dues-paying City Bar member and serves on a committee. Now, I know some others might argue that they had Judge Ellerin first. When she applied to join the City Bar, she was already a member of several bar associations and civic organizations. But before she became a really big deal, she was involved with the City Bar. Now, how can I prove this? Like any good lawyer, I come with evidence. I have here her original, handwritten, hand-signed City Bar membership application. This is the proposal for membership and candidate statement from April 24th, 1957. Wow. In response to question 10 about prior involvement or membership in the City Bar, she states as follows, that she has participated in several of the association's shows. Shows? Well, the entertainment committee shows over the years are legendary, including the 12th night performance that honored Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in February 2020, and which ended up being the main event celebrating the 150th anniversary of the City Bar just before the pandemic. Judge Ellerin, I'm so grateful that you chose the City Bar as one of your professional homes. You are a role model not just for women, but for all lawyers, and we're all the better for it. Now let me turn it over to Janine Pollock, whose day job is being a partner at George, Feldman, and McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett, and thank you so much for all of your incredible support and the City Bar's support through this wonderful journey. As Brett said, I'm Janine Pollack. I'm a member of the Women in the Legal Profession Committee and this year's chair of the subcommittee for commissioning portraits of women for the walls of the City Bar. As you can see in this room, there's lots of guys, but not so many women, so we're working on that. Welcome to all, and thank you all for coming to share in this tribute to Betty Weinberg Ellerin. I first heard Judge Ellerin speak at a City Bar event honoring Constance Baker Motley. I was struck by her grace, her poise, and her warmth, not to mention her humor. Little did I know that I would soon be tasked with picking the next portrait for the subcommittee on the Women on the Walls. When I was making my list of prominent female attorneys and jurists, and there were many, I remembered Justice Ellerin from the City Bar event, and I did some sleuth detective work on the internet to uncover all her numerous achievements, and there were many. When I brought up her name and accomplishments at our subcommittee meeting, everyone was intrigued and enthusiastic, and it did not take much for us to decide that she would be our next portrait on the walls of the City Bar. The City Bar reached out to her, and it was all systems go from there. Of course, when I called Judge Ellerin, she could not have been more lovely. We had a delightful dinner at her apartment, during which she told amazing stories of her years as a young lawyer at a time when there were so few women in the legal profession. Judge Ellerin made the whole process of this portrait so easy and fun, and I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know her and spending time with her over the last 8 months or so. In fact, I feel like I have known her for a lifetime. I'm so happy that her family members were able to attend tonight, and I thank you all for your help in this process. I also want to say a very special thank you to Martha Harris and her excellent team at the City Bar for all their incredible devotion and hard work on this. We could not have done it without you, seriously. As a female attorney practicing law for the past 35 years in New York City, I feel like I personally owe Judge Ellerin a huge thank you note for paving the way for me and other female attorneys to be able to have it all: a career, a family, and incredible opportunities to shine in the legal profession. We still have work to do, but without leaders like Judge Ellerin, we would not even be where we are today. I want to also, again, say a special word of thanks to Alston and Bird, our platinum sponsor, JAMS, our gold sponsor, and other sponsors as well. You not only helped make this event possible, but a very special and memorable evening for Judge Ellerin and her family. I also want to thank the Women in the Legal Profession Committee, and particularly the Subcommittee for Women on the Walls. May we continue to fill the City Bar with additional portraits of women trailblazer attorneys. And now we are going to talk about the portrait. I'm so honored to get to say a few words about the artist, Patty Horing. I met Patty 40 years ago at NYU in Paris when we were both study abroad students in our junior year. And we both were laughing on the phone yesterday saying, has it really been 40 years? It was a little disturbing, but 40 years. About a year or two ago, I learned that Patty had become an artist, and I went to see one of her exhibits. I was truly impressed by her incredible talent. So when it came up during the development stage of the project that we needed a portrait artist, I knew exactly who to call. And here we are today. Patty is a painter of what she calls psychological portraiture, in which she not only paints what she sees, but also investigates the narrative and psychological nature of portraiture. Her work has appeared in numerous exhibitions and is in the permanent collection of the Parish Art Museum in Southampton, New York, and many notable private collections. Before becoming an artist, Patty received a master's in English literature from NYU and her BA from Brown University. She received her Master of Fine Art from the New York Academy of Art. Patty is represented in New York by the Anna Zorina Gallery, and I want to thank the gallery for all your assistance on this project. It was most appreciated. For the portrait, Patty sought to represent a timeless version of Judge Ellerin, one that incorporates her past and present, her dignity, and the weight of her many pioneering achievements on behalf of women. When Patty and I met with Judge Ellerin in her home, Patty took note of all the surroundings and incorporated many of those elements into the painting itself. Thank you, Patty, for taking such care with this project and the tremendous thought and effort you put into it. And now, the portrait.
So she says. Hi, we are so honored tonight that everyone is here. I'm Linda Rosenthal. I'm chair of the Women in the Legal Profession Committee. And now on behalf of Judge Ellerin, who prepared remarks, is her son Seth, who's going to read them on her behalf.
I won't embarrass you, Ma. First of all, thank everybody for coming here tonight. It's a blessing you all came out in this weather, and that just says something about my mom, who is a great person and a great mother and a great judge. I just have to tell one story. I promise I wouldn't go off speech, Ma, but I gotta say this, okay? Her granddaughter, my daughter, went to law school. I just told this story last night, and she told it to you, that when she went through her first year of law school, she goes through the books, and whose name does she see? Betty Ellerin. So you've affected many people. Now, my mom's not feeling well tonight and has lost her voice. She can't speak tonight and cannot acknowledge all those responsible for this wonderful occasion. I would like to thank, on behalf of the family and my mother, Janine Pollock, Adrian Ward, the New York Women's Judges Association, Alston and Byrd with Richard Hayes, John Cambria, and Carl Gherkin, JAMS, Chief Judge Rowan Wilson, Associate Judge Shirley Troutman, the Presiding Judge of the First Department, Diane Renwick, and she is most grateful for those listed on the program and will thank each and every one of you when her voice returns, which hopefully is tomorrow. Thank you for being here on behalf of the family and Mom, and thank you for this remarkable event in her honor. She never imagined an honor like this would ever happen in her lifetime. Thank you.
We are so happy to introduce now Richard Hayes, the chair of Alston and Byrd, who I understand flew up from Atlanta for this honor. So thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Wow, really, really amazing, really fantastic. As the chairman of Alston and Byrd, I cannot tell you how much of an honor it is to stand here with you, to honor and to celebrate and to recognize a remarkable colleague, a remarkable friend, Judge Ellerin. And it is really phenomenal. And this unveiling of this portrait, it really is a testament to so many things. I mean, it's a testament to her pioneering legacy, right? The firsts that she has had, the historic firsts, which you will hear more about, are just simply remarkable when you reflect on her career and her service. She not only broke the glass ceiling, she literally redefined what it meant for women in the practice of law. And it's something that we celebrate, and this portrait is just a beginning of that. Now, beyond her extraordinary career on the judiciary, we at Alston and Byrd are very proud to have called her one of our own for many, many years. It was in 2006 when my partners John Cambria and Carl Gherkin convinced Judge Ellerin to join us. And it was a milestone moment for us. It was really a pivotal time for our law firm. And so she gave stature, her presence, her contributions, and her insights were really something that set us apart. And so it was she has been a gift, I think of as truly a gift to us, the firm, all of our lawyers and partners at the firm, a tremendous gift to our younger lawyers. And I have, among the many joys that I've had, has been watching her and seeing the younger lawyers gravitate to her. And they have gravitated really not just for her wisdom, but really for her warmth. And that is something that cannot be faked and is so genuine. And I wish you could witness it. And there's something about Judge Ellerin that invites not just respect, but also just genuine admiration. And her sense of humor is unique and wonderful, and adds special charm that we've all benefited from. So this is the unveiling of this is a tribute to her achievements, but also the enduring character of someone who has shaped the law, shaped the city, and also shaped the generations of many, many lawyers, especially those over the last 20 years at Alston and Byrd, and we're so, so grateful for that. So I want to conclude by thanking the New York City Bar Association and in particular the Committee on Women in the Legal Profession for their vision and support for advancing this. So, Judge Ellerin, congratulations. We are proud to stand with you, and we thank you for showing us what service, what leadership means, and also how wonderful a life dedicated to justice can truly be. So thank you. Carl Gierkin is with us as well, and he was part of that duo, along with John Cambria, that convinced Judge Ellerin to join us. Carl?
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you all. And Judge Ellerin, thank you for all you've done for all of us. It's an honor to be here tonight. And, you know, the judge has been such an inspiring presence for us all. And just by way of background, I'm Carl Gierkin. I'm the General Counsel of Alston and Byrd. I'm also a longtime litigation partner there. And I want to applaud the New York City Bar Association and its Women in the Legal Profession Committee for selecting Judge Ellerin as an honoree this evening in light of her very pioneering career and her very significant impact on the courts and, of course, the legal profession generally. I'd like to take a moment or two to talk about our relationship, Alston and Byrd's relationship, and John and how we kind of tried to get Judge Ellerin interested in us, about 20 years ago now, Judge. So it was then that John and I were charged with the responsibility of trying to attract Judge Ellerin to the firm. None other than Richard was at that point, the head of all of our litigation groups at the firm, and he came to us and he said, I've heard that there is this very prominent Appellate Division Justice in New York, Judge Betty Weinberg Ellerin, who is leaving the bench at the end of the year. Don't you think it would be a good idea for you and John to see if you can get her to join the firm? And we said, well, we think that's a great idea, Richard, but we're kind of the new kid on the block, so to speak. We had only opened our office in New York 5 years earlier, but we wanted to make a go of it, and John and I put our minds to it, and we worked on trying to get an audience with the judge. And when we did get a chance to meet with her, and we were very much in proactive sales mode because we knew there would be a lot of suitors for the judge, and I think the judge knew that. And we were pretty straightforward, and I don't know if she was taken aback or she was charmed, but in any event, we got a chance to talk to her, and then we gave her our best pitch. We talked to her about the firm's commitment to excellence, while at the same time being a great place to work. In fact, we told her that that is the firm, had been on Fortune's list of the best places to work year after year. No other firm had done that. We talked to her about our child care center in Atlanta for the families of firm attorneys. And, we talked about, our plans for growth in New York and really how Judge Ellerin could help us with those plans. And so she thought about it. Like I said, I think she was a little bit taken aback by the directness of the approach. But at the end of the day, she said, yeah, I will join you, but under one very important condition. And she said, I will join you if you, as long as you know, my name will not appear on any brief, nor will I appear in court in any case unless I'm actively involved in the case. And John and I looked at each other and we said, agreed. And so, true to her word, Judge Betty immersed herself in our practice, in our cases, and we called on her to advise our most significant clients on their most critical matters. And it made a huge difference to the growth of our litigation practice and, candidly, to our office in New York. And after a while, clients began asking us, can we get an audience with Judge Ellerin? We want to get her candid assessment and her frank view on our case. And if you know Judge Betty, she did just that. And at the same time, word was getting out, and Judge Ellerin was attracting new clients to the firm, new sophisticated work, and all the while, she was touting Alston and Byrd as her law firm, and that made a big difference for us as well. And I want to pick up on something that Richard said. The added bonus in all of this was that Judge Ellerin became part of the Alston and Byrd family and community. She had an open door policy. Partners and associates alike could stop by her office at any time, and she would talk to them about their matters and about their careers. Over the years, she's counseled and guided and mentored dozens of us. So, for me personally, Judge Ellerin has been a godsend, and for a very long time, Judge, you and I sat right next to each other. Our offices were adjoining, and I would frequently stop by to see the judge, and I would tell her about the issues that were keeping me up at night. And invariably, she was on the phone. And she could have been talking to the chief judge of the Court of Appeals or a government official or the mayor, whoever. But she would clear her schedule, and she would say to me, Carl, take a seat. And then, as only she can do, she worked through the issues with me, and again, in her very direct and plain-spoken way. So, well, I can never fully repay my debt of gratitude to her. I want to take a moment, Judge, right now to thank you for all you have done for the firm and for me, for being such a close confidant, teacher, and above all, a true friend over all these years. So I'm so happy to be here tonight celebrating this very significant recognition with you, Judge, and I look forward to working with you as long as you're willing. So with that, my thanks again to the New York City Bar Association for its very inspired selection and for this very wonderful event. Cheers.
Thank you so much. And we want to thank again Alston and Byrd as our platinum sponsors for making tonight possible and free. And we're so grateful that you both donated your time as well as your generosity in other ways as well. So with that, I want to thank also the Williams Commission that's a co-sponsor of tonight's event. And with no further ado, Justice Shirley Troutman, co-chair of the Williams Commission, who also has prepared remarks. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I would note that although I'm selected to represent the Williams Commission, that the efforts that the Commission contributed tonight were also certainly responsible as our co-chair, Troy K. Weber, Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department, who's also here this evening. It is indeed an honor to introduce the video of the remarkable Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin, created by the Franklin H. Williams Judicial Commission. She is a woman who truly needs no introduction. Throughout her career, Justice Ellerin has labored without ceasing in the vineyards of the legal profession, using her voice, position, and sheer will to effectuate needed change in society and the courts. Despite the demands on her time, she has always found time to mentor others, and as a result, she has left her unmistakable imprint upon law firms and at all levels of the judiciary. Perhaps it was in part because of her upbringing in the Bronx that the young Betty Weinberg had the audacity to pursue a career as a lawyer at a time when it was a male-dominated profession. While known throughout the state and beyond for her stellar legal mind, Justice Ellerin also epitomizes the leadership virtues propounded by Rosalind Carter. A leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. As I look out into this room, I see that it is full of individuals who tonight's honoree most certainly took to places where we needed to be, even when we didn't have the foresight to know it. It is my hope that each of us in the legal profession will adopt the giving spirit of Justice Ellerin and embrace our potential to contribute to a calling higher than ourselves. As Justice Ellerin has done throughout her career, she embodies what both a good lawyer and judge should strive to be. With all that I've shared with you tonight, and for far too many reasons to list, the New York City Bar Association has deemed it appropriate to include a portrait of Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin amongst its collection of legal giants who have helped shape the profession, not only in the city of New York, but throughout the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you, in her own words, Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin.
When I think about Judge Ellerin and how I first came to know of her, I struggle thinking of a particular moment because in my legal career since 1988, I have always known of Betty Ellerin.
So I knew of her long before I knew her. Everyone, I think everyone, knows of Judge Ellerin.
Judge Ellerin came on my radar when I started involving myself with the Women's Bar Association. It's intriguing to me because then I hear that she was born and raised in the Bronx.
I was born in the Bronx, right in the heart of the Depression. A few years later, we moved to Connecticut. I finished my first year of high school. We moved back to the Bronx. The school in my neighborhood was James Monroe High School. My mother didn't want me to go to college. All she wanted was for me to get married. She had an older sister in Chicago who was very different. She had two daughters who were about 10, 12 years older than I. She made the daughters into lawyers. So I saw from that a woman could be a lawyer, and being a lawyer gave you the opportunity to do a lot of good things.
She joined the City Bar 70 years ago. There was no place for women when Betty Ellerin came along.
To think about what she had to face walking into a male's world at that time, right?
The phrase I think that she used was that women had to tiptoe in.
We use the word trailblazer lightly. She literally blazed a trail and took steps and entered spaces that women didn't enter before. When she began, she was the first. And she's been so many firsts in every space she's entered.
Betty Weinberg Ellerin has a whole list of firsts.
She was the first woman court attorney in the court system of New York State. It gives me goosebumps.
In 1965, I was the first woman in the state of New York to be appointed a law clerk to a regularly elected Supreme Court judge in the state. Now, that's not really so long ago, and boy, have times changed.
But she didn't stop there. So then she becomes the first administrator of the court system at a time where it's all men.
I get a call on a Sunday morning, Chief Judge Cook. Judge, I'd like to see you tomorrow. And so the next day, I meet him, and he says he would like me to be the administrative judge for the city of New York. Well, that was a little bit of a shock, frankly. So I said, oh, Judge, I'm honored, I'd be delighted to. And I did. I became the administrative judge for the city. And could I say no? No. Because if I said no, I knew who was going to get it instead of me, and believe me, I would not be happy with that.
No one is fiercer than Betty Ellerin. I have stories to tell. She called me the day after I became administrative judge of the New York City Family Courts. And it wasn't a pleasant phone call. She wanted to see me, and I came to see her, and she let me know, and I'm using a finger because she pointed her finger at me, that she was not pleased with certain things in that court.
It's not that she's always kind. One could imagine being on the receiving end of some sharp words of advice. What Betty Weinberg Ellerin possesses is a mix of great savvy, real smarts, with kindness and caring. That mixture is what is magic.
If you know her, her demeanor, her persona is so delicious, you can't help but to be sucked into it.
She has the distinction of being the first woman appointed to serve on the Appellate Division First Department.
It is a big deal. First of all, the premier court, one of the premier courts in the country, the Appellate Division First Department.
I get a call that I'm going to go to the Appellate Division. Boy, that was pretty good. I was very, very happy about that. Ultimately, the Appellate Division was fabulous, okay? I was the only woman on the Appellate Division for, I think, 11 years. Now, that court is predominantly women. I mean, I never thought I'd live to see that.
Judge Ellerin is 95 years young, and she is still on fire for justice.
The woman is 95 and is senior counsel to a law firm. Still fighting for the rights of women.
There are many of us who follow in her footsteps. I take quite seriously the legacy that she has begun for us. Judge Ellerin is the one who bears the standard for us.
I just feel that as a court system, we're so blessed to have had this woman touch upon us and continue to touch upon us. For a person to have reached the level that she has reached, she doesn't really need to care anymore. You understand? She's solidified her position and her role in history forever, but she still cares.
Betty Weinberg Ellerin has never been about good for her. She has always been about good for all of those who she brings along and who follow. And that is why we celebrate this woman. And that is why any chance I can, I applaud her loudly.
Wow. I now have the honor of presenting Presiding Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department, Justice Diane Renwick.
Good evening. I don't think I've ever seen this room this full, and I have been in here a number of times. And what a tribute this is to you, Betty. I'm thrilled to be here to honor my beloved colleague, mentor, and friend, and add my praise and admiration to our Betty. Each of tonight's wonderful speakers capture aspects of Justice Ellerin's remarkable and inspiring career, keen intellect, sharp wit, humanity, particularly her indefatigable efforts of mentoring women. As I reflect on how I might add to the rightful praise and convey my deep admiration to further illuminate Justice Ellerin's tremendous impact as a lawyer, judge, administrator, friend, mentor, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, it struck me that it is Betty, one of New York's pioneers, who through her work and example shattered the glass ceiling and forged a path for women to serve in leadership roles in the judiciary and bar associations. Justice Ellerin's exemplary work and outspoken manner in these positions created the possibilities and elevated the dialogue that opened doors of opportunity for women and other individuals who were not yet considered worthy of judicial or judicial leadership positions. Today, we expect to see individuals from all walks of life on the bench, in government posts, in corporations, laboratories, in space, journalism, sports, in short, across the professional spectrum. Yet, when Betty graduated from law school in 1952, this was far from typical. Indeed, she defied any social norm. As we know, Betty was undeterred by, if anything, it fueled her determination and ambition, which was ignited early on. I was touched to learn Justice Ellerin's personal story of how her parents escaped fascism and the Nazis, and how their sacrifices shaped Justice Ellerin's life to fight for equality, even as a young 16-year-old college student. It's evident that her strength and grit in pursuit of justice, fairness, are deeply rooted and informed her life of service to our profession and to us all. Charlotte Watson, who is here this evening, recalls Justice Ellerin expressing this sentiment as well, and describes what a privilege it was to work alongside Justice Ellerin until recently as the executive director of the Committee on Women in the Courts, now newly and most fittingly renamed the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin Committee on Women in the Courts. Charlotte aptly remarked that Justice Ellerin maintains the wonder of a child, yet is as tenacious and ferocious as a lion, possesses a giant, and no one wants to be on that end of it, and possesses a giant, generous heart, clear and long vision, boundless energy, and a wicked sense of humor, all while being one of the most brilliant, accomplished women she has ever known. Charlotte further describes Justice Ellerin as driven by the best interests of women, committed to removing obstacles from their professional paths, and supportive of their choices, be it as lawyers, homemakers, or future presidents. I couldn't have said it better, and I second those words and that description 1,000%. I'm also struck by Justice Ellerin's longevity, not simply her age, almost 96, an age many of us, I know I do, aspire to attain, but that at her age, Justice Ellerin's opinions and views are still sought and followed. Hers remains a voice that commands respect, and she is a force in our noble profession. Justice Ellerin has been a member of the bar for the terms of 16 Chief Justices, judges, including interim appointments. 3 have been women. One of them, the Honorable Carmen Beauchamp-Saparic, who joins us this evening, gratefully remembers Justice Ellerin's trip to Albany to support her nomination to the Court of Appeals. Justice Ellerin testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Judge Saparic's behalf. Justice Ellerin's testimony blunted criticism of a decision of Judge Saparic's to use Medicaid funding to help save the lives of impoverished women endangered by their pregnancies. Justice Ellerin forcefully outlined why Judge Saparic, her voice, and her perspective as a woman deserved a seat on the Court of Appeals. And as they say, the rest was history. At heart, Justice Ellerin is a pragmatist and savvy strategist who intentionally works to propel women into leadership positions in the judiciary and bar associations. To this day, she is a fierce advocate for equality and fairness. Betty, you have long been a trailblazer in every sense of the word. The first woman appointed, as has been said, as a court law clerk, as Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for the New York City courts, the first woman Associate Justice of the Appellate Division, First Department, and the first woman Presiding Justice of that same court. These milestones are not just personal achievements. They represent moments in history that opened doors for countless others, men and women alike. An important door was opened for Justice Ellerin at the First Department as well, long before she arrived in 1984. As the story is told, Justice Louis J. Cappizzoli, yes, of the Cappizzoli Gavel Award, was appointed to the First Department in 1966. He called then Deputy Clerk Joseph Lucci and told Joe that he and his secretary Mildred Holtz would be coming to look over his new chambers. Joe said, "I'm sorry, Judge, but Mildred can't come here to work. We don't have any women employees in the Appellate Division." Not missing a beat, Judge Cappizzoli said, "If Mildred can't come, you can tell the governor I'm not coming either." Apparently, the problem was that since only men had worked at the Appellate Division, the restroom doors had no locks. Judge Cappizzoli was unwavering. Joe quickly found a solution. He installed locks on all the restroom doors. That's a good thing, because Justice Ellerin would have broken those doors right down. She did so figuratively. Justice Ellerin is tiny but mighty, I say. Justice Ellerin served for nearly or over a decade before the next woman, Justice Angela Mazzarelli, was appointed in 1995. During that period, Betty was the only, before Justice Mazzarelli arrived, Justice Ellerin was the only woman of 14 justices. Justice Mazzarelli tells a couple of side-splitting, in my opinion, stories from the early days. In one instance, Justices Leo Malonis, Russ Rubin, Ellerin, and Mazzarelli were trying to reach consensus on damages in a personal injury case. After much discussion, Leo announced, "I'm done. I've had enough." He left the room and headed upstairs to chambers. Well, Betty ran after him into the stairwell and up the stairs behind him in hot pursuit, with Russ Rubin chasing behind, probably to make sure she didn't kill him. Nothing could stop Justice Ellerin in pursuit of justice. On another occasion, the same panel of 4, Justices Malonis, Rubin, Mazzarelli, and Ellerin, were on a personal injury case involving the city. The panel believed that the city's argument was meritless and would likely be dismissed after argument. I guess the attorneys knew their judges and believed that too, because after the calendar call, When the parties returned for argument, they announced that they had settled the case. And my final, tiny but mighty Justice Ellerin story dates back to a time when the court was composed of 2 women and 11 men. Justice Mazzarelli, formidable in her own right, was worried about the outcome in a particular case. She exclaimed, "Betty, what are we going to do?" To which Justice Ellerin calmly replied, "Don't worry, the odds are even." Of all the wonderful things Justice Mazzarelli shares about Justice Ellerin, the most endearing is how she affectionately refers to Betty as her big sister. Justice Mazzarelli recalls that once Justice Ellerin approved her fiancé, she literally planned the entire wedding. Literally. She took over. Although it was my honor to appoint Justice Ellerin as co-chair of the Committee on Character and Fitness, one of our most important committees of the Appellate Division First Department, I, of course, never had the privilege of sitting with her on the bench. However, I have had the distinct privilege of her friendship, love, support, and guidance throughout my career. You often reminded me, Betty, that you liked me even before you met me because of my decisions. Betty, you inspired, encouraged, and buoyed me from my early days on the bench, sending notes of praise for my decisions, to your unwavering affirmations following my appointment to the Appellate Division and when I sought the position of Presiding Justice. I certainly admire your work as the first woman Presiding Justice, on which the court still relies. In addition to your decisions, you restored the pre-argument conference program and the 18B criminal justice panel, both of which are thriving still and integral to the court's important work. Tonight, we celebrate you, our esteemed Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin. We celebrate your intellect, integrity, indomitable will, and above all, your love, friendship, and extraordinary contributions to the law, and in particular to women. You opened doors of opportunity and left them wide open for others to enter. You are a beacon for justice, a champion for equality, and a model of what it means to live a life of service, purpose, and grace, guided by unshakable convictions. You've always said to me, "I'm proud to be the first, but I don't want to be the last." I'm grateful to follow in your footsteps as Presiding Justice of one of the leading and preeminent courts in our state and country. This is an enormous responsibility, and you are an exemplar of how to lead with courage, grace, and resolve. Thanks to you and your rich legacy, I know I will not be the last. The portrait is a beautiful and appropriate tribute to you and your remarkable impact on all of us, the legal community, and beyond. Thanks you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Justice Renwick. I now have the honor of introducing Chief Justice Rowan Wilson of the New York State Court of Appeals.
Good evening, everyone. I have been assigned one task, but one of the great things about being Chief Judge is that I can disregard the program and nobody can do anything about it. So I actually have three things to do. The first is to say that from the moment I joined this court system 8.5 years ago, Justice Ellerin has been supportive, encouraging, has had my back, has supported me in ways that are seen and unseen, and has really been a true friend to me. And I'm not even a woman. The second thing is my official task, which is to present this proclamation to Presiding Justice Ellerin, which is very long, but I will read it nevertheless. And it's on behalf of the entire New York State court system. There's 16,000 current employees, the prior employees who had the privilege of working when Judge Ellerin was in the system, which is many, many thousands of other people. So the proclamation in honor of Honorable Benny Weinberg Ellerin, whereas the Chief Judge of the State of New York, me, on behalf of the New York State Unified Court System, honors Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin by this proclamation for her lifelong dedication to public service in the courts of the state of New York and her unwavering fight for justice, equality, and fairness. And whereas Justice Ellerin, who knew she wanted to be an attorney at the age of 12 years old, began her career with the New York courts in 1955 after entering the practice of law in 1952, and selflessly pursued service in the public sector as a law secretary and then in numerous judicial positions until her retirement from the Appellate Division, First Department in 2005. And whereas Justice Ellerin was the first woman to be appointed as Associate Justice in the Appellate Division, First Department, and the first woman to serve as Presiding Justice of that court. And whereas Justice Ellerin never wavered from her commitment to advancing the status of women in the legal profession, and did so throughout her illustrious career by repeatedly shattering the glass ceiling and providing guidance, encouragement, and assistance to women lawyers seeking to advance their careers in the private and public sectors. And whereas Justice Ellerin's tireless efforts resulted in numerous court policies and mandatory education programs for judges and non-judicial employees concerning sexual harassment, workplace violence, language usage, employee safety, and paid parental leave. And whereas as a result of Justice Ellerin's continued and ongoing mission to end gender bias and discrimination, the New York State Unified Court System modified court practices and operations that previously adversely affected litigants by establishing children's centers and lactation rooms in many courthouses. And whereas in 2024, the New York State Judicial Committee on Women in the Courts was renamed the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin Committee on Women in the Courts in honor of Justice Ellerin's decades-long work with that committee as a member, chair, and then co-chair. And whereas Justice Ellerin's commitment to society did not stop at the courthouse doors, as she was a member of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, a trustee associate of New York University, president of the NYU Alumni Federation, was a founding member and director of the Judges and Lawyers Breast Cancer Alert, served as president of the National Association of Women Judges, and was a founding member of the Women's Bar Association of the State of New York. And whereas at the age of 95 years old, Justice Ellerin continues to hold meetings of the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin Committee on Women in the Courts and serve on other court committees and commissions. And whereas, me again, in celebrating this incredible lifetime of Justice Betty Weinberg Ellerin, recognizes and honors her remarkable, unique, and unsurpassed dedication to the legal profession, the New York State courts, the judiciary, and her tenacity and perseverance in her commitment to fulfill her mission to advance the status of women in the profession, as well as those who interact with the courts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chief Judge of New York State, the Honorable Rowan D. Wilson, bestows upon Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin the accolades to which she is so very deserving for her innumerable contributions to the people of the state of New York, her tireless pursuit of justice for all, and her historic and groundbreaking legal career, dated May 6, 2025. And I did say that I had one more thing to do. So it was last year when my leadership team got the idea of renaming the Committee on Women in the Courts in honor of Justice Ellerin. And we got the idea, we said, well, how do we do that? And so at the next meeting, next bi-weekly meeting we had, the answer came back, well, Chief, me, it's your committee, you can name it whatever you want. I said, really? Don't have to ask the administrative board? Nope. Public comment? Nope. I can just rename it? Yep. So we did. And we kept it, we kept it a surprise, to my surprise, from Justice Ellerin until we showed up at the meeting and announced it there. And one of the pictures you saw is actually Justice Ellerin in shock with me, and you can see in the picture, I think, Judge St. George is there and Justice Rosado is there. And it was really a wonderful moment. But today is the last day that the Betty Weinberg Committee on the Courts is going to be called that. Because today at our 2:30 bi-weekly meeting, where is my friend, Justice Richardson? She said, you know, why is it a committee? The Franklin Williams Commission is a commission. The Permanent Commission on Access to Justice is a commission. The new Family Justice Commission is a commission. Why isn't it a commission? And I said, wait a minute. I can do that. So henceforth, starting tomorrow, it will be the Honorable Betty Weinberg Ellerin Commission on Women in the Court.
Thank you so much. We're not done with proclamations. We have one more. We have tonight from the Senior Appointments Officer from the Governor Kathleen Hochul's office, John Ward.
And good evening, everybody. We're happy to be here today. We're happy to celebrate Judge Betty Weinberg Ellerin. I also, like Judge Wilson, have a proclamation, but I will not be reading it because he read his. So I'm just going to keep it very brief. Judge, I'm here on behalf of the 57th Governor of the state of New York. We are here to honor you. We're here to honor your past. But we're also here with my colleague, Myasia, to honor your present. We know you through your work on the screening committees, and I see Judge Seiss in the background. I know that no one gets on the Court of Claims if you don't vote yes in the screening committee meetings. So it might be a vote of 11 people, but as RFK said about Mayor Daley, you're the ball game. So I want to say it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to help celebrate you, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 days and in 22 days for our next screening committee meetings.
And with that, I want to convey my thanks again to all of our amazing speakers, our generous sponsors, Alston and Bird and JAMS, and Janine Pollock, the committee, Women in the Legal Profession, and the subcommittee, Women on the Walls. And I really want to thank the living legend that is Justice Ellerin. I invite you all to go to the reception, and thank you all again. Thank you.